Irene went mad on a bus one day and hit a child. Hard. So hard that it had to be hospitalized. So hard that poor mad old Irene was locked up so she could never harm anyone again. She was never allowed to go back home, and eventually, after 10 years in an institution, she died in despair. Irene had no family, so the house went to the public trustee, who sent one of their assessors, Magnus McCree, to evaluate the old woman's property and its contents. He was surprised by what he found. And the dust fell softly like snow. As soon as Magnus opened the back door of the little house and stepped over the threshold, he knew. He knew he had made a terrible mistake accepting this job, entering this house. The place was disgusting, rotting from the inside, left just as it was the day that Irene walked out to catch the bus 10 years ago. The carpet had molded and disintegrated. An ancient possum skeleton lay sprawled on one of the bedroom floors. Throughout the entire house, there were plastic bags full of trinkets, clothes, food, things that Irene thought needed to be separated. Dolls in all conditions, half-dressed, damaged or limbless, were propped up in chairs on the mantelpiece above the fireplace, lying in filthy beds in the spare rooms, and sitting at the kitchen table. Watching. The sheer amount of religious iconography all over the house was also astounding. The walls were littered with an endless array of crucifixes. Cupboards were plastered in holy cards, bookshelves groaned with Bibles, hymnals, and saints' lives. There were cheap prints of doe-eyed children with lambs, plus numerous plaster angels and an assortment of Virgin Mary statues. And all of it, everything, covered in a thick layer of dust. And the dust fell softly like snow. Magnus wished he had worn a mask to protect against the mold and mildew and dust and general sense of contagion in the place. Rubbish was piled high in the kitchen sinks and covered the stovetop. It spilled out of the pantry, filled the bathtub and shower. Everywhere, mounds of rotting filth. Watching. As he looked about in wonder, it was obvious that Irene had been an extreme hoarder, a collector of things. It was almost as if this thought triggered what happened next. In the sunroom, the back door slammed shut. The bolt flew into place, and an old washing machine slid across the floorboards. The locks on all the windows spun open, then closed. The front door locked. The chain was drawn into place and a bookcase rammed up tight against it. Noises of confinement, of shutting up and locking down resounded from all corners of the house. Alarmed, Magnus charged through the rooms, unable to fathom exactly how this imprisonment was occurring. But then he had known, when he first stepped over the threshold, known that he would not be leaving, and that he had made a terrible mistake. dust fell softly like snow.
An elderly woman's voice tinkled like chimes in his ear.
You're mine now. Mine to keep.
All the dust that lay over every surface in the house lifted like a giant grey sheet, and it started to spin through the air, creating a dust storm that blinded Magnus. Its smothering foulness swept inside his ears and eyes and mouth and lungs, and he fell down, and the dust fell softly like snow to cover Irene's possessions. Including Magnus. The house settled, became silent once again.